no,
Are you
that's
serious?
Is it the condition?
Yeah.
Conditions. Why don't the cars?
Just play it with me, like, there's no organizational problems on Tuesday, Thursday. You can't hit the things, you know, with, oh, it's just literally that. They know. They're let down on their
Yeah, like it. Really?
Section like that.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
You can't do space.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, since all of you have your things open, you go ahead and while we're sitting around, go into the database, pick a boat, take a time, look for, choose a time period, a boat, and a location, and start looking at it and trying to figure out the story of that ship. Okay, so everybody should have a different ship.
what week is the database on again?
2
8
weeks
or-
ago, 9, I think.
So you pick a random voyage.
Random voyage.
0%.
No, it's 8, yeah.
No, this one has
1%. Like a 1 to 0%.
So everybody should have a different, I mean, there are thousands of boats, so everybody should have a different boat.
Can Peter and I go together?
Yes, because he doesn't have this.
Thank you.
Perfect. You get it on your phone,
Is there a time period you want to say?
so you can pick the time period, you can pick the year.
It's on week 8.
Week 8. At the bottom.
No, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very
Hey.
Talk about paper game.
Thank you so much.
This is my favorite thing in high school.
Do the errands.
Yeah.
That's not 0%. Go back. Go back. Find your real zero.
So, you're going into the database and you just, your time period, we're gonna, each person's gonna tell us about.
There you go.
what they're talking about.
That's what it's on the desk.
A lot of deaths.
I need it. Look.
How many they had it work?
No.
That was totally true. Crew was ready for a postman died. So this is pretty bad. 357 Guadalupe. It's fine. It's a real life. How high did I go? JP, did you fill out an absentee?
You can fill out the application, you can't fill out the ballot.
No, because then
So like,
Do you fill the application, fill the application, you can have a family member fill out the application, and then they put down the, where they want you to send, where they want the actual ballot sent to.
yeah.
So you can have someone do it with whatever. Absentee ballot. It's when you're not in the place that you want, where you're registered to vote, during the time of the election. Is it? I thought it was earlier. I thought it was the 5th.
So
Oh, I
look
think
at,
it's the 15th.
think of, these are the questions that are on the, in the discussion, kind of, as you're looking at your vote, answer those questions.
So
The 1 through 7?
where did they
Yeah,
get
I mean-
most of this from? Like, where was the?
your particular vote will be one particular year, so you're not doing a time range, but, or if your ship sails many different times, you know, you might find a ship like that, or you can find one particular voyage. But just one ship.
Are we doing this right now?
Yep.
Wait, is this the discussion we're supposed to do about something?
More than just 10 ships.
I was looking for most crew desks.
Look it up.
Because that's like something interesting.
Constante.
No,
What areas Valkyrie must have helped slave trade between 1500 and
Why?
1710?
Why? It requires no effort.
I just looked there.
No, it doesn't. It's clicking. You want to do it? Fine.
No, before, what was it?
So more crew members have been like, do you know who crew members are?
That's D, you gotta go deeper.
Right on the coast.
I think if you wanna do, no, then you gotta go up to the top.
What year was that?
1822.
St. Helena is an island in the
Well, the voyage began in 18. They arrived at the city.
You win your voyages, you find some places. No, it says what area the ship. I know, but we're trying to answer this question. No, I know, we've been looking in the meantime. So open that separate link, in a separate tab.
The Chichimon sing.
How long?
I didn't know that. Wait, so are we answering those questions?
You're, I mean, yes.
Is this a good trip?
It's helping you look for things in your ship.
Is this good enough?
It's a weird next ship, that's great.
So, no, we need to keep it open. Just open.
Oh, right. I don't know, I'm from 5th grade. 94.
Morality, mortality, insanity, death.
Or don't, that's cool too.
Only part 7 months. It doesn't give you any data.
Hey, you know if it was a
Right, Nas?
That's the same.
I guess in
It's also one.
these questions.
Not right now. Wait, or the word.
That's all you can do? You take this too.
I'm trying to find a ship.
Do you have a phone or a computer?
The translation.
Where is it?
No, I'm just gonna look at their.
So then, like,
Well, look at all, you know, all kinds of weird talked about. Can you answer any of those weird that you don't know? Can you find the evils or
Chip.
Oh, well then B.
okay, that translates to happy thing.
It does. That's a big ship. What's the crew? What's the size? What's the size?
Chichimon. Wagwan stinky boy. You know patois? You think she does the old patois? Stinky boy.
That's
Oh, it's an angle on East Africa. If you just try to.
Stinky cheese girl. Oh, Wagwan stink boy. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasa?
Okay, so
Constante.
you guys have looked at, you have your voyages there. So let's kind of go around the room. How many people have French slave ships? French ships. Okay. All right. So what years for your French ships? What is the year you count?
1760.
1716.
1755.
1755. Taylor?
1708.
Okay. So all those are in the 1700s, the 18th century. That's very interesting, actually. So where do they go to? Are they all leaving out of Le Havre?
Yeah. Oh, I think Island in the northwest.
It's a port in
Northwest France.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was that thing.
it was the largest port export
Right.
port. So where Amanda and Kayla, where's your ship leaving out of in France?
Rochelle.
Oh, Rochelle. Okay. You find it?
Oh, there it is. Okay. That's the Havre.
Stinky one cheese.
LA. I have my glasses on.
But what's his best one?
But that's not Kelly's.
Master Chief.
Yours doesn't say.
Wait, this one.
No, it's not. No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so 3 different places in France. How big are your ships? How much cargo are they holding?
They can, I think it says standard tonnage is 398.
Okay, 398 tons.
499.
Okay, Amanda?
60.
60 tons. So you have a little tiny ship.
Nice.
Where'd you see that?
Cool.
Oh, wait.
Okay. So with your 60-ton ship, how much cargo did it take? How many embarked in Africa?
250.
250. So with 60 tons, you had 250. So you guys should have hundreds.
I have 462.
Okay, and it's like 3
But
times
there's
as big.
also 145 crew members.
145.
There's 145 and 92 with the guy.
Oh my god.
Not really sure.
So Connor was looking for an anomaly, anomalous.
I was looking.
A weird ship. Kayla, how many embarked on yours?
550.
So yeah, so yours was a big ship and it has a lot of crew. So this is telling us something about Connor's ship too, right? Because you have the largest ship, I think, right?
No,
hers is Kayla's is the largest, but still, it's a big ship. It should have more than
Something.
that, and to have that much crew, also something's weird.
Like,
Yeah, that's kinda, why would they have such a big crew?
I don't know. That I have no idea.
it probably might have been like immigration too.
Wouldn't
No,
that
but
just,
they
like-
wouldn't be. They wouldn't be crew though.
Yeah.
Or
They
just
would be
like
little
fill
crew.
space.
Do they get
that don't already
attacked?
have?
What was the
I think there might have been a number.
what was the route that they take? Yours.
So West Central Africa is purchased from St. Helens is also purchased, and then they land in Martinique, then they land in Saint-Domingue,
Saint Domingue, which is Haiti.
and then Martinique.
How long is the voyage? How long does it take for them to get from France to France?
I don't know what it is.
It's towards the
Oh wait, no.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. A year?
So the voyage began in April. And the voyage length, home port to slave landing is 406. How long is your voyage? That tells you something.
That told me.
It was 341 from where they left to the slave landing.
Okay.
Middle passage days are 124.
194 days in the Middle Passage from South Central Africa to where? Yours was Southwest Africa?
Yeah, it's, they fought their people in vitamin E.
That should not have taken that long. Okay, so I'm gonna put a map up so we can see what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Look at that. I got 270. You got 282. You're only 12 days before the main push. Well, that's from your home port over trading back, sell them all off. And I don't know how many times you place stuff, but then get back to the home port. So it's a full round trip.
Okay. The Bight of Benin is right here. There's Benin. So a bight is an area that has water, like a river exit on it. So that's right there. And then Rio de la Plata is Buenos Aires. So it's here. So what that means with your ship, Kayla, they have the trade winds take them this, and the currents take them this way. This is going, the currents are going this way. This one, it's going this way. So they had to pick up somewhere. What probably happened and why it was so long is somewhere right in here is what's called the doldrums, because you're in the middle of two currents, and if you don't cross it just right, you kind of miss. You miss the train kind of thing. So you sit there with the currents just not doing anything. The wind currents aren't there. There's no water current. So what might have happened is they were kind of set adrift there. So as they're coming around this way, you have to jump onto this train, and they might have missed it because it really shouldn't take that long to get that far. And Connor, yours was going from where to where?
Mine went from
in Africa.
I know it stopped at St. Helena.
St. Helena is right here.
West Central Africa, and St. Helena.
So they're on. I mean, they should be. That should not have taken as long either.
There's something.
They
It
missed
took a year.
something.
There's something.
It took a
Something
year.
happened. It should not take a year to get across.
Yeah.
There.
Do they get paid for how long it takes? Or like,
No. Because cargo spoils.
Yeah.
You want to get your cargo to
So
market as
somehow
fast
they
as
kept
possible.
most of the slaves alive.
It might have been a mutiny of some sort.
I think it was.
I mean, there are too many people on board. There's too many thoughts going on.
They could have been attacked, and then they could have just like overran it and then finished the. Because there were a couple ships that I've seen that they've been attacked. They still brought their slaves to the people.
It usually says that though, and his doesn't say that there's any attack.
I didn't see it.
So I didn't see it either when I was looking at it. Okay, so
There could
that.
also be like named ship. There's two ships that were named similar, and one was just lost.
No, that one. Not. There would be two different records then,
Okay.
and it would say ship lost. Yeah, I mean that's a good idea, but these logs that you would have to separate ships. Okay, so those are French ships, and that's 18th century. On each of yours, what's the ratio of men to women of the slaves? Does it say?
Mine is
87 male to 13 female.
But you have 400 people on board. You need 4%? Oh, percent. Okay, 87% men. Okay. Yeah.
And that includes like
And that sounds about right. And yours was 1780? Was the year? 1760? Okay. All right, so that's the French. Let's do, who has, I saw a lot of Portuguese ships. So, all right. So Portuguese ships, who has 1500s, 16th century? Anybody? 17th century?
You have 18.
That's 19th century. 1800s is 19th century.
Yeah, same ones.
So all of you are doing 19th century with the Portuguese? Okay. So in the 19th century, who has the first 20 years of the decade? So 1800 to 1820. Okay. Who has 1820 to 1840? Anybody have after 1840? Okay.
Wait, are you saying for Portuguese or just in general?
For Portuguese.
Okay.
The Portuguese ships. Okay. So let's work forward with our 1800 to 1820 Portuguese ships. Where are they leaving from? Are they leaving from Portugal, or are they leaving from, Bahia is over here.
Yeah, that's right.
So if it's leaving from Bahia, it's leaving from Brazil. Its home port is Brazil. Okay. What about the others?
Rio de Janeiro.
You're talking about where it leads
from
from?
Cabinda and Angola.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Bahia.
Is that where the ship is from, though?
Where the voyage began, is that what you're
Place
asking?
with, yeah,
From
place where
Rio.
voyage begins.
Okay, so Bahia is where it starts.
Oh,
So,
yeah, right.
yeah, Bahia is where it starts. Okay, so again, this early ship is leaving from Bahia. Any others? Anybody?
Rio de Janeiro.
It's leaving from Rio. Okay. So this is interesting, right? All the Portuguese ships are leaving, their home port is Brazil. Before 1820, that is Portugal. So it's a part of Portugal. Okay. So, but they're leaving from the Western Hemisphere to go to, all of you guys are going to Angola, this area here, right? Okay. So they go there. How long is the journey back? So the middle passage. 27 days. 36 days.
We're still just waiting for sure.
Yeah, the 1800 to 1820 ones.
Mine doesn't say.
It doesn't say?
No.
28 for me.
I had 57.
Middle passage.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
Yeah.
I had 57.
57 days.
The quick
Okay.
one.
There.
That's a slow one.
That's the longest one, yeah, because the others were like.
22.
Yeah.
It's 27, that's a quick one.
So they're going. If you can get over here, then it's like, if you can catch the right current.
Yeah, where's
it can sail you.
Mozambique?
Mozambique is
That's on
on
the
this
Yeah,
side.
that's where they got their slave.
Oh, okay. So how long is their voyage?
It didn't s-
It does. Oh, that's right. It doesn't
This
say.
one doesn't say.
The other way you might be able to tell is, does it have here arrived with slaves? On the 8th. So vessel arrived with slaves on that date, but it doesn't have any other dates.
Yeah.
Mine was in 1822, and they left from Rio, and they went to the, how do you say that? Where
Mozambique?
Mozambique, and it took 197 days for them to get there, and all like across the, go to there, like I think they stopped in another place too, and then back over to,
Yeah, mine was absurd.
it's Rio, pretty sure.
Yeah, mine went to Rio for Mozambique too. It was really long as well.
Okay, so Mozambique is over here. And Rio is right here. Bahia is up here. Okay, and you come, and remember this one is this way, then this one. This water is this way. So when you come out, you're crossing into two currents down here at the cape here. So you have to go from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, and then you pick up the little train ride, right? And it goes that way. You can't go this way. The water won't let you.
You gotta go up to go down.
Yeah. So you come up along here, you catch whatever it is, which is good though, because that's why this route is actually so fast when you're going from here to here. It's because you're right on the rails, right? It pulls you right over. So this is, you can get there in less than a month. So there's that. But the longest part coming from Mozambique is getting across this because you've got two currents coming at each other. It's a very treacherous path here. And don't forget, what's right here? Antarctica. So this sometimes has ice flows in it, that kind of stuff. So it's not only crazy water going on, but you got crazy stuff in the water. So you got to get around that. But once you get around that, then you've got a quick and easy thing. Okay. So let's see if that. Oh, and what's the percentage of a ratio of men to women on your ships?
Mine doesn't say.
Mine doesn't say.
Okay. That's actually interesting too. So the record keeping, what you can find out at that time. So this is 1800 to 1820 that we're talking about. Okay. So let's move forward to our 1820 to 1840 folks. Where are your Portuguese ships starting? Are they?
Rio.
Yeah, Rio.
They're in Rio also. So we're over here, and then they're going to
Venezuela.
Which is Angola.
Angola. Okay. And yours?
And then Monta.
Yours goes over here. Okay. So how long is the voyage from the time you pick up the slaves to the time you get them back to Brazil?
28 days.
Oh yeah, the middle passage is
28 days. So yours is the one that's going from Angola. So 28 days, yeah, less than a month. Ian, does yours say?
My middle passage is 65 days.
Uh-huh. So you see how it doubles there? Or more than doubles.
Yeah.
2/3.
Not sure.
There's more time. So, but that's because you gotta get, once it gets here,
Gotta
then
get all
you.
the way around.
Yeah. Okay, so. And do you have ratios of men to women?
No, it doesn't say on mine.
Not in yours? Okay.
I had a 9% mortality rate.
Oh, I didn't ask about the mortality
Yeah.
rate.
I had 6%, what was yours?
Huh?
What?
We had 1 year.
Mine was 5%.
Because we looked up 0%.
I had like 100 of my guys died.
Interesting.
Only 30
Okay. All right.
Not that, no.
How many did you guys have?
What was the mortality rate on your ship?
I had
Mine-
540.
Mine was the one I had before.
How big was your
Okay, so it's actually a low mortality rate on these.
Yeah, we
Okay, what about the last of our Portuguese and the? What?
I was American.
Oh, okay. Any other Portuguese?
Yeah, mine was from Bahia. I think it was captured by the British.
Oh, so it didn't finish its trip?
I don't think you could.
What
might wanna
year
look
is
at
it?
this.
What
Yeah,
year is it?
1850. I just ended up.
1850.
Oh, so that means they
1850.
confiscated it because it
Yeah.
was a slave ship.
Yep. Embarked in Old World.
And then.
Yep.
When-
Okay, so his ship is actually really interesting. 1850 is the year Brazil and Cuba sign a treaty with Great Britain saying, okay, we promise we won't ever bring slaves from Africa to Brazil or Cuba. And they sign a little thing, and they won't do it anymore. Doesn't mean there's not trade after that, but after that it becomes illegal. So does it say the date on that?
1855.
I mean And so this one is actually, it departs Africa in June. The treaty, I think, was signed in April. So if they are, transporting slaves from Africa to Brazil after this treaty is signed, it's illegal goods. That's why they were confiscated.
Are the slaves just free after that?
It said, how does it phrase it?
It said just arriving at first place of land.
They went to the old world or something?
Yeah, it said disembarked in the old world.
Disembarked in the old
Oh,
world.
so they brought them back.
They took them back. They probably took them to Sierra Leone. Come down a little. Sierra Leone is where.
That's where they took them.
Okay. Yep. So Sierra Leone was created as a place because you don't want to bring the Africans to England, heaven forbid. People bring them there. So they bring them back. It's Africa. They're from Africa. We'll put them back in Africa, right? So they create a colony there. The United States creates a colony in Liberia, and so that's where you repatriate saved cargo, right? emancipated cargo. You put them there, and then they can deal with whatever they need to deal with there. So that's what that means, is that when they're taken back to the old world, their old world is there. Okay? Does it give male to female ratio on that one?
It was 52% men, 23% women, 17% boys, 8% girls.
Okay, so still we're keeping that more male to female ratio. Okay. All right, so those are the Portuguese. What other flagships? We have U.S. flagships.
Yeah.
Okay. U.S. flagships. What years?
Mine's 1844.
1844 U.S. flagship. Okay. 1762. 1844. It should be illegal.
Yeah, that's pretty late.
I was looking at
Yeah,
one
what's the,
state.
wait, wasn't it
I was-
1817 where slavery was illegal?
1840. I had
Or well,
No, 180. Well, the slave trade is illegal in
Yeah.
1808,
Oh,
and slavery is illegal in
1863.
1863.
It didn't go to the
63
U.S.
65.
It went to Brazil, and it
Mhm.
started in Rio. And
So it's a U.S. flagship. How do you make money? You can't make legal money trading with the U.S. or with the British.
Treat the other places.
You go somewhere where it's legal, right? But that's how you're gonna make your money. So Brown of Brown University, he built ships, and he was one of those guys who, well, we can't trade up here, so we'll trade down here. So a lot of that money that helped to found Brown University was
slave money?
slave money.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
I don't think they tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
before.
They do now.
Oh, they do?
They do now. Yeah,
Renowned.
Good for
they
them.
do now.
It's one of the best.
Hey, this is a
It's
great
probably in
college,
Rhode Island.
but it's founded on slavery.
I like it.
Yeah, let you guys know.
Well, they don't
Where's
say
Brown?
that, but huh?
But it's like, is brown like the skin color? Like,
No, that is his name.
oh.
It's just it's just irony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an ironic name.
I was like,
Yes.
Jesus.
Okay.
wow.
What was the ratio of Robbie of men boys?
They didn't have the ratio. This one I chose because there was a uprising, or a slave uprising. Uprising revolt.
Where
They
does-
called it an insurrection, and 120 of the slaves died, either due to the circumstances of that or for something else. So about 1/5 of them added. So about a 20% mortality.
There were 600 people on the ship. 600 slaves in there. 800, 700.
There were 100 people that died, and 1/5 of them. Or
Oh,
500.
Okay, so
500. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm a historian, not a math.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, I thought I had said something. Yeah, it was they had 543 total, and they disembarked with around 440.
Okay. What was the crew size?
They didn't say the crew at all, which was a little strange. But the voyage took 270 days to
Wow.
complete in total. And they
Does,
were,
it left from it did.
it went from Rio to Mozambique, back to basically Rio to Brazil.
Okay. But in the
There's
middle
an
of there,
American
there's
ship.
an insurrection.
Yeah.
And so a year-long voyage. But we've seen that can. There was one of them that made that in 65 days or something. So
Yeah.
that's a considerable amount longer trip.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other U.S. one was earlier. Where did it leave from? 1700s, you could leave from the U.S.
Eastern New Jersey.
New Jersey. All right, New Jersey.
Jersey.
Right. So it leaves from Jersey and then goes
Gambia.
to the Gambia, which is here. Okay. And then is that the only stop it makes, or?
Yes.
Okay. So Gambia, New Jersey to Gambia. So Jersey to Gambia, and then goes back to where? Where do they?
Back to New Jersey.
Back to New Jersey. How long was that trip?
Whenever you meet.
May of 1762, but it doesn't say when it left.
So I'm like,
What year was it
Okay.
again?
1762.
Sorry, so that was.
So it's
still colonial.
it's still British. So it's actually a British ship. It's not even a U.S. ship. Yeah. How many slaves on there?
149.
And how many make it?
126.
Okay. So that's pretty good ratio there. And does it have percentage of male to female?
No, it doesn't. Or
It's a little early. They don't often do that. Okay, so that's one we haven't seen yet. But that one, again, the route, you can get a route that way. You get pretty easy access. Has everybody shared their ships? Kevin, did you share yours?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Portugal.
Okay. Everybody had a chance? Okay. So the reason why I did that practice there, one is to just show you how you can just pop in there and you can find all these different flagship countries, different destinations. That idea of leaving from the Americas to go to Africa to come back to the Americas, so Europe isn't even in that, right? There are all these different ways of getting people there. The reason why I was asking the ratio is sometimes you can see a skewing of more male versus more female based on the time. So if you look at some country, some like the French go from wanting a lot of men, then there's an era when they want a lot of women because of the kind of labor that they're doing, and then they realize that the men are better. So the idea is that one of the problems is how Westerners viewed labor versus how West Africans viewed labor. For the Europeans, field labor is a male task. It's hard out. You're out there. They were thinking that the men, but it was the women's task. Remember our taino? That's the women's job. In West Africa, it was the women's job. And so what they found when they first started bringing the men over to do that work, is the men were like, I don't know how to do this. My job. I've never done that before. So they were doing a lot of on-the-job training of, well, this is what we want you to do, kind of thing, and kind of figure that out. And depending on what the crop was, they might order more women to do that, because that's what if we're doing rice, the women do the rice in this area over here. So let's just pick up women from the Gambia and Senegal area who do rice, and we'll bring them over here. So there was a time in South Carolina where you skew from bringing a lot of men. That didn't work. Bring a lot of women, suddenly you make money. And so they figured that out. Okay. So yeah, just keep, I have those questions up there. You can throw those things into your discussion and work with that. Okay. So, where are we? Yeah, that's not what I want. Okay, so we were talking about the plantations, and we got everybody here. So let's do some more with that. And we've got everybody, still didn't bring the gluing. I was looking right at it today too.
You should have put it on, tape it to the door or something.
I should do that. Because I'm always afraid to put it on stuff, because if the top comes off, then it stains and stuff, and so that's why it's out. Okay. So where do we? Oh, goober! I don't have the little clicker thingy. Left it in the classroom. It's good to know. Okay, so all these different places, where do you actually set up your plantation, right? So you want to grow crops, you want to make money, but different regions are good for different things. So we're going to find that, if it's a drier climate, you could do tobacco. Not quite dry, but it's not as moist. You could do tobacco. Other areas are better for sugar. Some soil is better for different crops. So you need to figure all that out. Altitude plays a role in things too. Whether you're all these, there's so many different things. So the other thing that you need to do is to figure out how to get your stuff to market. So you don't want to put your thing at your farm in such a remote place that you spend all your money actually getting it to market, right? So you want to find a way to get your things to market quickly and easily. So let's look at our different choices that we have. We've got the small islands, right? The ones that you were trying to remember today. All those little guys. There's only limited land on that. It's not like, the U.S. where you get all this land taken and you can just keep moving west and you can acquire more. Once this land is gone, that's it. You can only subdivide it so much before it's not profitable. So what happens on a small island is you have to figure out how much land goes to who, and so the wealth gets really concentrated, right? One of the problems that happened especially with the British islands, is that the labor that they first brought in was indentured labor, not slave labor. So when you're talking about bringing in an indentured laborer, there's a reward at the end. It's like, we're bringing you in on a contract. It's contract labor, right? You're bringing you in on a contract. At the end of the contract, you get something. One, you get your freedom. But the other thing that happened was they said, okay, we'll give you a sustainable plot of land so that you can grow your own food and possibly have enough for profit to sell. But that was one of the incentives to sign on to the contract, was 7 years of labor, then you get land.
Doesn't seem like the worst.
No, but they needed to populate these areas. They learned from the Spanish that if you don't have people there, then other countries will take over. So they wanted the people there. So that was the way that the British start getting people over, is this idea of indentureship. We'll give you 7 years of labor, and then you can start. Well, that's fine in a place like Virginia, right, where you can just keep expanding and moving further and further west as land. But in a place like this, that's not going to work so well. And so if the person actually makes it out of their contract, which is another issue, if they actually make it out of their contract, then, oh, sorry, no land. You could go to Montserrat, or you could go to Virginia, or you could go somewhere else, but we don't have any land here. So even for the Europeans, there's that issue.
Would they ever pay them instead?
Not usually. Usually it was just oops, sorry.
Snooze and you lose kind of thing?
Yeah. And then the other problem with the indentureship was it was hard to get out of it. So it might say that you have a 7-year contract, but you can, all the infractions, not working fast enough, not making enough profit for the landowner, all of those things could, for a woman getting pregnant was an infraction, so that's 9 months added on to your,
And then you have a kid.
Yeah, that you then have to feed, and so that gets taken off of your time. So there are all these sneaky ways of extending the contract. So a lot of times a 7-year indentureship turns into a lifetime kind of thing. But the problem here is space, right? So how are you gonna get people there? And work people out there. Another issue is not every parcel of land is good growing land. An island like Barbados, this area up here, it's nice right along the shore, but as you go along here, there's mountain. They call them mountains in Barbados, but there's some large hills. But it's hilly and rocky, and not good farmland, right? So you've got this wedge right through the middle of Barbados, which is not cultivatable land. This area in here is really good land, but again, the other problem that you have here is water. So your plot might have the creek or the river running through it, but somebody else's plot needs access to that, so they need an irrigation ditch to go through your land so that they have it, because things have been cut up so much in that area. So you have this issue of, can you tax people for that? How roads, there's no such thing as like an interstate, right? And things like going through. The roads are not publicly owned. If you have a king's road, then it's owned by the king. But most of the roads, you develop a road on your land and it goes up to the next person's land.
Okay.
You are only in control of that road on your land. So you have the road going from the door to the other door. And, but look, we're in the middle of the building, right? So if you want to get to that hallway or to that hallway, you have to cut through our land. We can charge for that.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say like.
Yeah, so you have multiple toll roads all through here, and you can charge, everybody can charge their own, whatever they want to charge. So one guy charges, £1, and another guy charges 15 pounds, and another guy doesn't let you on his land. He's a jerk.
Go around.
Right? But sometimes that's hard. I mean, how do you get around? Yeah. So, but it might depend on what kind of maintenance you have. Do you need to build a bridge over something so people can access it? All those things depend on how much you charge for that. But toll roads on these small islands were huge. But if you live in the middle, you have to access the toll roads to get your stuff to market. The market is Holetown, Speightstown, or Speightstown. Those are the major ones. Bridgetown is the capital, but Speightstown is actually where, in the colonial era, where people would go for market. So how do you get your stuff there? That costs money. Then where do you house your labor? Right? You have only so much cultivatable land. You don't want your good land being used for housing, right? So, and you don't want your good land being used for provision grounds either. So then you have to really think about those things. So what happens sometimes is that some of the planters will lease undesirable land on somebody else's plantation, and everybody's slaves live in the same place. So it's like, okay, you have marshland on your land. We'll put everybody's there so we can cultivate everything.
So would they would each privately own a part of that marshy land, or would there be like one person?
No,
that,
there's one person
watches
you
over?
pay rent to
Okay,
that person.
okay.
Yeah, but that rent was cheaper than using your
good
cultivatable land.
Yeah.
So those are kinds of things that when you're thinking about a small island, it's space, and then it becomes an issue of ownership. How many people can own land on that? So it becomes a finite number of people. What you find is a lot of times that land is owned by a absentee landowner. So there's a bunch of issues that we'll talk about later with that too. Okay, so any questions about the small island and what issues that you might have with that? Good or bad? Good? Okay. Then there's the large one. Now, a large island, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and Hispaniola. Those might seem like much easier because, again, you do have a lot of space and you can grow, but the problem there is topographical. Each of those big islands has a mountain range in the middle of them. And those mountain ranges are not cultivatable land. They're also, those large land masses are also, those geographical points are also dangerous because it's inaccessible land. So it's inaccessible to you, so who's gonna go there? Yeah, you have a space on your island that slaves can flee to. On a small island, not so much, right? There's nowhere to run on a small island. You can, you can run, but it's hard to hide on the small island. There's plenty of space to hide. So you see a lot of lost property because
is that another word for maroon colonies?
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah. So the maroons are, it comes from the term cima, which cimarron is a Spanish term,
Yeah.
and a cima is a hill, and so these are people who fled to the hills. They in the early years they were getting help from the indigenous, from the Taino. They're like, this is what we did, we'll help you out. And so there's a mixture. Quite often, what they're finding in DNA and people from Puerto Rico and Jamaica, and that there's the people of African descent actually have a really high percentage of indigenous blood. Those who are from these maroon communities have a high percentage of indigenous blood because of that mixture. So for slaves, this is a little bit better. It's if you have an insurrection, you have some place to disappear to, and it's a little more annoying for the European powers. If you're a planter, you would think you'd have more land, but it's still a finite space. It's an island, right? So you still have finite space, and you still have to deal with those topographical kinds of issues where, where's the water? How do you get from, if you're here bumped up against the Blue Mountains, how do you get your stuff to Kingston, which is down here, or Montego Bay, which is up here? How do you get your stuff there?
Ship.
But you're in the middle of the island, so unless you're Peter Pan, it's not going to work very well. So you got to get it out to the water, and this is before railroads, so you've got to figure out the access. So transportation is a big issue, and Jamaica had so many toll roads that sort of connected and then didn't, or the absentee landowner might decide from London to close off his toll road, but all kinds of crazy stuff happened with that. And then the uncultivated or uncultivatable land, which might be right in the middle or separate you from where you need to be. So there are lots of issues with a large island. Can you guys think of any others that might be an issue, positive or negative?
Is this one Jamaica that we're?
This is Jamaica, but
So,
we've got
okay.
4 large islands.
Maybe like Haiti, Dominican Republic, like that.
Pirates.
Yeah, pirates is that's bad for all the islands though. So and that's if you live on the coastline. And if you're on the coastline away from the major center of population, so away from Kingston or away from Spadestown or wherever, if you're on the opposite side, all of the Crown's resources are around the major port. So if you're away from the major port, pirates are a big deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say like judicial power, because it's a large amount of land, so you're not actually like seeing the person or have like one area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, again, with this amount of land here, how do you keep control of your workers? How do you, control the labor? That's another issue. And it's a real big issue because they have places to go. So if you don't keep an eye on them, they could disappear. Then we have the mainland. So Virginia or Mexico. This is Colombia here. So the idea of how, again, if you're near the center of power, if you're in Mexico near Veracruz, if you're in Colombia near Cartagena, Panama, those places where the crown is, that has more control, more access to money, those kinds of things. But the other problem is it's close to the crown, right? So the crown has a lot of control over you. So it's better to kind of move further out. It's easier to move further out when you're on the mainland, so you have space to grow. So if one place becomes overpopulated, you can move your farm further and further inland. But the further inland you move, the further you are from access to money, right? You're poor. So you can grow all the crops you want, have a huge surplus of crops, but if you can't get it to market, it's useless. So before we have the trains, that's the idea of how you can quickly get it there. Are you near a river? Just put it on a flatboat and sail it down the river. One of the problems with that is portions of rivers are tolled as well. As it goes through people's property, people set up dams and bridges and, like, what do you call them, the toll bridges, where they go up and down, and so they block your passage, and you have to pay them to get your stuff through their land. So you might be bypassing a real road, but the water road can be just as tricky to navigate. Your labor, again, very easy to lose your labor. They've got a lot of places to run to. So that can be an issue. Industry, there's a lot of things you can do on the mainland, right? You don't, just having an hacienda or an estate isn't the only thing you can do. So you have a few more options on the mainland of what you can do to make money. Whereas on the islands, that's mostly options are mostly limited to the center population, wherever the capital is. That's where you'll find the varieties that you have. Okay. So, sticking with our plantations, this is a sugar plantation. Does it look like a place you'd actually want to work? No? Does this look like what you think like chattel slavery would be? Why not?
So
What's
nice.
okay? What makes it look nice?
They're like in like court attire. Like that guy has a top
Yeah, that
hat
guy's
on
a hat.
and he's walking with a cane.
Well,
and
he's this guy over here. Yeah.
And that lady is in like
A dress.
yeah, like
And maybe our child.
like fluffy.
Oh, it
things.
looks like she's with child.
Yeah, this is a little kid. Yeah.
No, I think that woman doesn't that woman look pregnant in the red?
Here? It's just it's the
Yeah,
the fluffy
it's
dress.
the peplum.
It doesn't
Yeah.
look like they're
No, there's no
anything,
like major overseers thing like
Yeah.
you think of like the whipping and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Oh, and isn't that a white guy helping that? Not.
Yep, these two are white. This is the the
Yeah,
The head
but
guy.
the very over in the corner, like they're helping.
yeah, you could yeah. It's idyllic. I mean, this is like a pastoral scene. It could be Bristol or, I don't know, the France, or it could be Europe, right? That's the point of this. This was a anti-abolition painting. So here the abolitionists are like, oh, it's so horrible, people are changing, you're eating sugar, you're eating the blood of slaves, blah, blah, blah. And so, no, not really. They're happy, and if they aren't enslaved, what would happen? Look, they get clothes. There's happy communication between the owners and the slaves. Everybody kind of works happily together. The kids, look, I mean,
Even the kids are contributing.
she's got all her, she's helping her mommy. This is, they're harvesting cane, but look at the happy, it's almost a pastoral peasant scene from, it could be, anywhere in any serfdom, anywhere. In fact, these people look better than a Russian serf or some country guy in Jersey, England or something like that. This is better. They're taken care of. Look how well he's taking care of them. So this was the counter argument. Slavery was good because,
It's nice.
well, because they're taken care of. Why would you want, yeah, they're treated well, they're taken care of, they have a roof over their head, food,
I
clothes.
mean, is this just specifically talking about a plantation? Like,
This was the argument, yeah. It was like, why would we end British slavery? Why would we end French slavery? It's you know, the people, the slaves have it better than this is the era of Charles Dickens. Think of reading like I don't know, Great Expectations or A Christmas Carol, or you know, think of what that vision of England in the late 1700s, early 1900s, early 1800s. I mean, it was pretty dismal. I mean, you wouldn't want to be poor in 1790 France or England. I mean, that was just not something you'd want. But they're taken care of. They have it better.
Do they get like some sort of money for being on a plantation rather than
No, you don't have no.
like no?
Not if you're a slave.
Yeah,
Slave
of course,
doesn't
yeah,
get
no,
money.
just like maybe.
No,
some
and
reward, just-
so the argument was, you know, they don't get paid. Look what industrialization has done. It's made white people worse than slaves. So being a slave is good. You get taken care of. You're on your own in this industrial world. It's a hard, harsh, stinky, smoggy world. Versus, look at the air here. This is the middle of the harvest, and the air is clear. That wouldn't happen. Things are burning. You got nonstop stuff going on during the harvest. So this picture's a little bit more realistic here. So on a plantation is worth about 2/5 of the property that the owner owns.
Wait, what? When did that get like allowed? Like, I don't know. Because I remember, wasn't it 3/5 of a thing that?
That's different.
That's
It's not the worth. That was for voting rights.
Okay.
So yes, so representation. If for representation, a slave is you get 3/5 of
A vote.
of a whole person
Okay.
to represent. This is how much actual money
Okay.
is in it. A plantation owner has no actual easy, accessible wealth. Their wealth is in the land. 2/5 of it is in their labor. In order to access the money, you'd have to sell the slave.
Yeah, and the land
And you have to sell the
product.
land, and you have to sell the product. So it's not accessible wealth. There's a term in business that my husband always tells me, and I'm like, it just always flies out of my head. But it's about liquidity. Yes. So thank you. So liquidity these are not liquid assets, right? You have to do something to get that money. 2/5 of that, even if everything else was liquid, even if everything else was easily accessible, still 2/5 of your money, you have to
It's
do
tied
something
up
with.
in, yeah, it's tied
Wouldn't
up.
the plantation be more than that too? Than 2/5? Like the land and the.
Well, it's a combination of agriculture and industry. So you've got to process the things that you grow.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but like if he sold his land, like.
The land is actually less than
The slaves.
the land is usually it's either equal to or less. So about 1/5 of a lot of the plantations is in the land. The wealth is in the land. 2/5 is in the product, and 2/5 is in the labor. So the land itself is not really where your money is either. It's in what comes out of the land and who gets it out of the land. So like a large plantation, they were little towns. They were pretty much self-sufficient. You had factories on them, you had mills, you had houses, you had provision grounds, you had, everything was right there. And you could kind of build it up. So here's an account book from 1774, Jamaica. So, you know, there's stuff that goes on the plantation, but you have to feed your slaves and clothe them in some way. And you have to feed the other workers, everybody who's on that. So, 15 barrels of beef, and this beef is salted beef.
Yeah.
Where does the herring come from?
Or like water, sea.
Where?
In the Middle Passage.
Finland.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't herring a northern fish?
This is from Nova Scotia, or
Yeah.
it's Canadian, from Canadian waters usually. So Nova Scotia and what is that? Not Labrador, but Labrador, Greenland, Newfoundland. That's what it was. Yeah, and Maine, right? So that's where you're getting the herring from. Again, salted. Butter. That's an odd one, isn't it? Why?
Was it a big thing?
I don't know why you would
big of a thing.
Well, this is kind of his account book. This is an account book.
Well, can't you like use butter to cook like all different kinds of things? So it'd be like easy like to mix it into whatever you're doing that it tastes better.
And it's actually, if you looked at this butter, if you tasted this butter, it would not taste anything like the butter that, it's not cabbage butter. It's more like lard,
Yeah.
right? It's so, one, it can sit out.
I'll pass.
It sits out. We're in Jamaica, right? So it had more substance. It was it was more greasy and more fatty, yeah. And it wasn't, there's very little milk in it.
Oh, so it won't curdle.
Because the milk will curdle. So it's more like lard, is what that is. And what is this?
I'm gonna ask her.
Does that have to do with?
Isn't that like a lubricant?
No, isn't that like what they make candles out of?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It is.
What is it though?
Corn and beef.
It's from a cow. It's not
Like the
beef though.
fat.
It's the fat rendering.
Like a
It's the
farm
fat
up.
rendering. Yeah. It's the fat rendering from the cow.
Didn't they used to do this?
I'm pretty sure I've read that in the book.
No, that would have been lard.
But they're like,
I think McDonald's is the best.
They might have. It's McDonald's.
That's what I feel like.
And then just one last thing here, and then I want to give you something. This. What is this?
He's working at it or
I don't know
whatever.
if that's cheap cloth.
It's cloth. It's a really rough cloth. It's kind of, it's made out of flax, and it's like a rough linen, and that was the clothes for the slaves. So, okay, I'm gonna pass this out, and I want you guys, this is what we're gonna do on Monday. So start working on that this weekend. You don't have to finish it, just have a sketchy outline.
Does it have to be drawn?
You will draw it on Monday. Does everybody have one? Okay. Alright, so that's our task on Monday. Get started on that. Your reading should help. Some of the stuff I told you today should help.
Yeah.
Alright, have a good weekend, you guys. Stay warm, Ian.
I got in trouble last year.
You know, Ian, what I learned coming from
Through it
the
all.
West
Like we're just
to
making it loud.
here,
We're in the
you
basement
have to
a lot
buy
there.
yourself a good pair of boots. Nice, warm, good pair of boots. And a good jacket. That jacket is not gonna do it.
No, I have this one.
This is my snowboard jacket.
That's not gonna do it either.
Double it up.
That's just for
Especially if we do.
snowboarding. But for just standing around, you need a good winter jacket.
When it comes January,
Somebody take it down.
Outdoor gear, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I
Take them outdoor gear and get them a real jacket.
More than welcome to pay if you want.
Well, because you're up here, actually, you gotta go to TJ Maxx or something like that. But get a real jacket.
For sure.
Because, I mean, I can do this now, but this is what I had when I came up from North Carolina, and I about froze my ass off.
Down jacket, that's what
Yeah.
I would suggest.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing.
Don't worry, I mean, you've already got the hat down, so you can look like
Yeah.
the Nuke of the North, and, you know, but you will be warm.
I have not.
Laugh at you, you will be warm.
You are
My
the
uncle
only
has a-
person that has ever mentioned that wasn't my mother. Jesus Christ, that was just like, whoa.
My uncle has a grizzly bear hide from a grizzly bear he shot a couple years ago. I'm gonna have him ship him that up here.
Yeah?
So just
Yeah.
be like,
Because
like-
see, you're already layering there. If you get the right jacket, you won't, all you need is a t-shirt underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time.